Hello, it's Friday, September 17th. We got all kinds of stuff going on today. New water pump showed up, but this thing might be going back, man. I mean, look at those horrendous porosities in the casting. And that's where the hose has got a seal, man. I mean, the factory one is nice and smooth. So I guess, you know, that's what you get when you go aftermarket, right? So this pump was $300. It was like $450, I think, to get one from Freightliner. Plus they wanted the core back. So that means it's a rebuild. So this is from Dale's Diesel out in Tampa. I called them up. They said they were sending me an email so I could send them pictures of what we got going on here. I mean, I can grind a little bit of that down, but it kind of needs like JB weld to fill in the frickin' potholes, pock marks. Oh, let's see if the hole sizes are right, just for fun. Yeah, it seems about right. Yeah, all right. Seems about right. Well, I guess those guys in Pakistan or whoever it was that made this casting just did a shitty job. Anyway, moving on. And it came with a nice new gasket right there. Let's show you what else we got going on here. We got 2 of our 3 exhaust manifold gaskets arrived. So we're still on hold for that. I think I already talked about these gaskets here. This is gaskets and seals for the water pump and the thermostat housing. Oil centrifuge, oil filter, transmission pan gasket, transmission connector harness. This is leaking oil. So after we get the transmission hung, we'll be able to pull the bottom of the transmission apart. And we got a transmission filter while we have the pan off. So darn, man, I was all pumped. The water pump can wait, so let's wait for these guys. I still haven't gotten their email. I can always put the water pump on last. I think what I'm going to do is hang the exhaust manifold on bolts here and go ahead and put the engine in and loosen the bolts out and slip the gaskets in. The last gasket, the last exhaust manifold gasket is supposed to be here Monday. Here it is Friday. And I'd really like to make some progress this weekend on it. So, and I already went through the engine compartment and tied up a bunch of hoses and whatnot. So that's like ready. Everything's ready, except these darn exhaust manifold gaskets. So, all right, that's what's going on today. Hey, it's Monday, November 20th. And I finally got the 3rd of 3 gaskets. Jeez, incredible. And so now we can start to put the thing together. Let's see how that goes. This is actually take 2. I put the engine down in the hole a couple days ago thinking that I could stick the exhaust manifold in there after the engine was in. And forget about it, man. That was just going to be ridiculously hard. I don't even know if it could be humanly possible to do, man. For starters, these 2 brackets would have to come off. And I don't know, that looks like that might pose a bunch of problems. And then still the whole engine goes so far back in this hole, there's all this overhang here. So I just decided to lift the thing out. It was easy enough to do. Got it sitting back on the ground. And now we're gonna bolt the exhaust manifold on and be able to torque it because it's got an interesting torque spec. I think it's like 10 Newton meters and then 50 Newton meters and 90 degrees, something like that. I don't have it. Oh, is it? Did I write it on this tag here? No, that was something else. That's the maximum allowable length of the exhaust manifold bolts. So I checked that, and they're still usable. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. All right, so there's the part number, A92614200080. And these are some serious gaskets, man. I got this special corrosion inhibitive coating on there, and they're 3 layers thick. I guess that's to help insulate the heat from the exhaust manifold to keep it off the head. I don't know. Let's see if we can get this thing installed. They go in this way. This is going to take 2 hands, so I got to fish it down in there. All right, so we're a little more than hand tight on these right now, and I thought I should put this on. And I was going to pack this full of never sees in this area in here. I mean, I've already kind of wire brushed it clean, but the book specifically says don't apply any lubricants or anything on there, so it just goes in there like that. Okay, and it connects to the EGR cooler, and now it's starting to rain. Wonderful. Well, hello, it's Wednesday, November 22nd. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, isn't it? Happy Turkey Day. So we're getting ready to put this jewel in there. I'll show you the lifting angle here in a minute and the method. But the obstructions are the front cross member and bumper and the axle. And we need to watch out for the exhaust, that the turbo doesn't dent that flange there. These cables have to go around the bottom of the oil pan, these 3, and maybe that 4th one too. They got to go around the front of the oil pan. The oil pan dips down pretty far, so you know it's a little wiggling going on here to make all this fit. We're hooked up here with this on one side, and we've got this on the other side. I got it doubled up so it would be nice and tight. So we're lifting on this eye and that bolt down there, and that did the best job of keeping it straight up and down this way. When I was lifting with this eye and the cross eye there, it had a lean to it, and it was something to deal with. So, all right, let's get this thing in the air. Okay, so that seems to be about the right angle to get it down in there. And what we're gonna do is, once we get up in there and start to lower, we can rest it on the axle, the oil pan on the axle, or we're gonna use a floor jack on the bottom of this aluminum cover here to support the back, and then we can roll back in there. This will slacken up when we do that, and it will only be holding it up on the front there. That's the plan anyway. Let's see how it goes. Okay, it's starting to go in. We move over to the right side of the vehicle just a little. We're a little crooked here. Okay, looking good. So we're well below here. We can go in probably a foot And then that'll let us get past this high point here. Then we can start to lower. All right, so I don't know if you can see it down there, but I got the engine cover on the back hanging over the back side of the axle, so it's kind of hooked on there right now. I had to push the engine back to get it over the axle, so it's hanging on that. And we're not tearing up anything over here. And everything here seems to be okay. So we're gonna, guess we'll lower down a little bit until we can get the jack underneath the back side of the engine, or get the engine to set on the axle, one or the other, to level out some. Then once we level out, then we can deal more with a flat, level kind of engine thing to align our exhaust. Because I'm pretty sure that's going to have to line right up. That exhaust is very rigid. I would like to not have to disconnect any of that from there back to make this connection. All right, we're just about there. Look how close we got the exhaust right there. I put our cross member in here. It's just hanging, but that's kind of like a safety thing. I've been taking baby steps. It's all shoehorned in okay on that side. Let's show you what I was doing down here. So one by one, I was putting these 2x6s on the oil pan to kind of steady things up. And I could lower the weight down, and it leveled the engine side to side, which was a little bit of a problem. I don't know how I let that get away from me when I first supported it, but we got beyond that now. Oh, and I also got a come along right there. It's in the eye of the tie rod end. It's not the right way to put a hook through a hole, but it's just barely got a detention on it, just to kind of scoot the engine over that way a little bit. You can see that the floor jack is not really that happy the way it's sitting. Yeah, we're gonna have to address that here pretty soon. But what I'd like to do is get the engine to scoot back just a little bit more, so I can get the bolt in this front mount, and then we can let the engine rest on this and feel a lot more secure. Guess I could put the nuts on these now. They're just stuck in the hole. What else? Oh, I use this binder to take up tension on this side of the chain, like up against here, to tip the engine up that way a little bit, and that made a huge difference. Okay, things are going well. The engine is sitting on its mounts. The rear mounts are fully in and tightened, except for the two big bolts, one on each side. They're in place, they just need to be torqued. Same as here. The whole cross member's in there and it's tight. Everything's tight except for the big bolt right here in the middle. And that's cool. I got the fuel lines hooked up. I had to actually go back and look at some videos to make sure that I was connecting all this stuff right. I fill the fuel filter with fuel, so hopefully it'll be a little easier to get started. AC compressor is just sitting there. Right now I'm working on the water pump. I got this immaculately clean here, as best as I could possibly get. And the groove is perfectly clean. Everything's clean. Freaking water pump. Man, I ordered a rebuilt, and I don't know what part of the third world that thing was made in, but it was horrendously bad. The casting was so bad, it was like full of these horrendous looking porosities that it looked like it was ready to leak. It was so thin, you know. And this one I got from, so that rebuilt was $300 for brand new. I mean, that new one was $300, brand new. This is a rebuild I got from Freightliner, and you know, these things like to rust in here because they hold water, and the first one they tried to give me was so freaking bad. The area around where the gasket sits was all, you can see the little pock marks right there, but it was horrendously bad, and they had like ground it down. Like they don't care if it needs to be flat for a gasket to seal. You know, I don't particularly care for the condition of this, but this was way better than the first one they tried to sell me. So I sanded this down lightly with some 320 just to get the roughness off of it, and the insides of these I polished out just to make me feel comfortable that I'm doing the best I can there. So we're going to go ahead and install the water pump and the thermostat housing next, because that looks like kind of a pain. And I got myself some silicone grease. I'm going to lather that thing up with silicone grease on all those mating surfaces to help the gasket. So there's the one that's got to be returned. They were good enough about sending me the return shipping. I thought I was going to have to eat the shipping on that thing, but anyway, so I got this dielectric grease. The gasket sealant I'm not using on the water pump. That's for something else, but all right, here we go. All right, so the trick to this seems to be, I think I've got, you know, order of operation is everything. You know, you put the wrong part on first, then you got to take the thing off and put the other part on, you know, all that good stuff. I think I got the order right here. So the trick to the water pump looks like you put the thermostat housing on first, and these are new thermostat housings. They're only like 2 years old. So I'm not messing with that at all. So this was on there loose. Everything is loose right now. And then you can scoot the water pump from underneath, kind of tip it in there. And you want to close this gap as much as you can. So, you know, you can pry up on this and then push down on this before you tighten up anything. And I think we got it. So I'm not sure what's going to happen up here with the EGR cooler. If any of this crap's going to have to like come off and go back on again. So I'm leaving that loose. Oh, what about this guy? Yeah, it's time to put this back in there now. Yeah, okay, no problem. I can get the clamps. Okay, so I had to redo some stuff here. This needed to be tightened first, this tube for the EGR cooler, because I forget what, I guess I couldn't get to this one because this was here. So this guy was first, and this guy had to go in last because there's a bolt under here. That's what it is. Where's my finger at? There's a bolt that holds this right underneath there. You know, you're not going to see it with the sunlight, but you can't tighten that bolt that holds this pipe if this pipe is there. This pipe's in the way. So this, you can scoot this thing out if you take these bolts out, and it'll go up behind in there, and you can pull this guy out, tighten all that up. So this is the last piece that goes in. Now I got to find myself a little bolt to go there. And then all this has to be torqued, the water pump bolts and the thermostat housing bolts. I want to find out what the torques are for that. And lastly, I got to get this banjo fitting here for the air compressor water feed. Pretty good, man. That feels good. It's starting to look good now. Okay, it's almost 5. I'm kind of hungry and I'm really tired, so I'm going to call it quits for the day. The exhaust is done. EGR cooler is done. Intake is done. New oil filter is in. Nothing much to talk about on this side here. I already got the fuel lines in. The whole water pump is done. All the cooling passages and lines and everything here is torqued. I still have to do this. I better do that before I call it a quits for the day. I don't want to forget that. Hey, good morning. It's Friday, November 24th. Day after Thanksgiving. Amy and Kyle did a great job hosting us for a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner last night at their place. All right. Doesn't look like it's really that much to do looking at this side here, but there's a whole bunch of disconnected wires underneath. We got to get those connected and the whole cooling system put together. So got to put, you know what, I think I'll put the oil in it now so I don't forget, and start connecting all these hoses back. Looks like it's going to be a great day. It's overcast, but there's no forecast for rain, so it ought to be very comfortable all day today. Looking forward to that. Well, it's about 20 to 6 in the evening, and I'm done for the day. I'm beat. I didn't even stop for lunch. I put about 10 hours straight. I got the transmission in. The flex plate is the flex plate bolts are installed, torqued with Loctite. The transmission bell housing has like 2, maybe 3 bolts in it only, which is enough for getting the thing to start. What else did we get done? All the coolant lines are done, except for the radiator hoses and the radiator. All the little stuff is completely done. All the electrical is completely connected, transmission and engine. Got the belts on, the pulleys, the fan is on. The intake heater grid is connected. Pretty much, next step is to put in the radiator. I've already got 5 gallons of motor oil in it. I got to put the radiator in it and hook the transmission cooler lines up. And we're going to give it a go, give it a start. I think we got a family thing tomorrow. I'm going to go visit some friends, family stuff. So that might slow me down. But if there's nothing wrong with any of the work that I've done, like, you know, some connection is bad or something is going to leak or whatever, I could have this thing running tomorrow. And that's pretty exciting stuff. All right, I'm going to go eat. I'm starving.